Hello, welcome to my master bathroom remodeling project. As part of the project, I'm adding raised plaster stencils with gold highlighting to the walls in here. And I'm going to show you how we did that. Here's an idea of what it looks like though.
So one of the first things we need to do is figure out what kind of texture you want. This is a standard way of applying the stencils using a putty knife and just troweling the plaster flush with the face of the drywall. And I've done that on this. I don't know how well you can see from here. I'm getting as close as I can, but it's a flat surface. The edges are a little rough, but this is a real standard way of doing it. Then I decided I wanted to try some other techniques, so I tried stippling, and I'm going to show you that right now. Maybe you can see the texture here, hopefully you can. This is used with a stippling brush, which means you just dot little brushfuls of, I'll show you in a bit, of plaster on top of this, and it gives it a rougher texture. The edges are quite different. I tended to like this one better. These are just trial examples. But there are a number of ways you can do it. I've also seen it brushed on with long strokes. That would give you another texture. I didn't try that one. I was pretty happy with this, so I'm going to proceed with this texture. So after experimenting a little bit, I've decided I'm going to use this border, the fine stuff at the top, and not use the middle piece on this at this point. But the border has an 8.5 inch repeat, so I'll work that into my calculations when I lay it out. And after I make a frame of that, I'm going to use this other template. Hang on here. This one, and it's going to be the centerpiece inside of the border. So now we're going to go lay them out. Oh, and by the way, hang on here. There are a lot of stencils available on the web. Pick something that suits you. It just happens to be that these two I got from Victoria Larson. They're really good quality. I'm very happy with them. Buy there, buy wherever, but that's where these two particular ones came from because they suited what I was looking for my project here. So you can see the layout lines here. I've laid out a border where I'm going to line up the frame with before I do the centerpiece. I've got the center of this marked right here. I can get 3 of these on since it's a repeat of 8.5 inches. 3 of them will fit in there with just a little gap, but the gap that comes with these is not quite right. So I'm going to put this on and center this right on here. Get it lined up. Now you can use plaster, which is what most people say, and there's nothing wrong with that, other than I'm probably going to use setting drywall mud. It's similar, it will set up. The thing with plaster is you've got about 5 minutes. For something this small, it's not a problem. When I get to the centerpiece, that definitely could be a problem. So the setting drywall mud comes in a 20 and 45 minute version. I have the 20-minute version here. But either way, unless you're in a big rush for some reason, there's no reason not to use it. It gives you more working time. You don't have to worry about it setting up before you're finished. And then I'm going to use a little paintbrush. This is what I have, and this is, any little paintbrush will do. You can also buy stippling brushes. It's up to you. Although what I found is these things are great little disposable brushes. It's a decent brush. And Dollar Tree has these things in a package. There's 3 different sizes. This is the smallest, and then there's 2 slightly larger ones. $1 for 3 of them, so 33 cents a piece. Beats those little foam brushes. So any kind of little disposable brush job you want to do, it's a great thing to have. Anyway, I'm going to mix up some drywall mud now, and we'll go ahead and stipple this one. Now, you mix it up fairly thin. If you're going to put it on with a putty knife and do a flat surface, you can make it thicker. But this is a fairly thin consistency, and you just dab it on. Make sure you get it in all these little crevices. I'm going to poke this on here. So this is pretty small, so it doesn't take too long to do it. The centerpiece is going to take a little longer, but it also has bigger openings in it. said, we're just going to do this first half because the spacing's not quite right between these. This is definitely the way to go. Okay, I think we've got that all covered. And the other nice thing is if you find out you missed something, and generally it doesn't really matter, but if you've got a spot that really doesn't look right that you missed, you can go back and lay the stencil right over this and do it and fill that little piece in. Okay, so that looks pretty decent. We don't need that little guy right there. But that's our first shot here. Hopefully you can see the texture. Okay, you can see that a little bit better with the light shining on it. You get an idea of what we've got. This is the first one. We're going to make a border all the way around here with these things. And I'm going to go ahead and work on that now. I've completed the border on this and I'm ready to put the centerpiece in here. I found the center. Now be careful when you do this because I noticed when I did this, I measured from the edges of this. This is about 1 inch in, this is about a 1/2 inch in, so it's not perfectly centered in here, so just take that into account, not a problem. But go ahead and center that. You definitely want to use setting drywall compound on something this big if you're going to stipple it. If you're going to put it on with a putty knife, you can probably get away with plaster, but this is going to take a bit longer. So we're going to go ahead and do this now. Okay, so that's done. We're going to pull the stencil off and see what it looks like. There we go, voila. I have the stencils applied to all of the walls, and you can see here a little bit of what I have going on. I've coated them with several layers of just latex paint on the walls. And then I'm coating it or painting just on the stencil part with some metallic gold paint. So you can see here the raised gold on it. That's what it's all going to look like when it's done. This one is completed. The metallic paint you can get at Michael's or Home Depot or Lowe's. A lot of those places carry. But definitely get the metallic if you're going with the gold. I've tried several different applications. I've tried rolling it on with a suede roller, with a foam roller. And when you stipple it, there's too much contrast in the height and it still gets paint all over everything. So I've resorted to painting all of this by hand. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. And it's a long, tedious process if you want to get into that. Just going to hit the tops of these things and brush it on. Like I said, it's a long, tedious job. But in the end it looks really great. So forth. This is basically what you do if you want to do it this way.